Hey everybody, it's Clint Arthur coming to you live from legendary Park Avenue South in New York City. I could say Park Avenue if I wanted to, but this ain't Park Avenue, it's Park Avenue South, see? Anybody who knows anything would know that it wasn't real, me calling it Park Avenue when it's actually Park Avenue South. Anybody who knows me, like Dan Kennedy knows me, right? Dan Kennedy, when asked, is what Clint does like what the other guy does? Dan Kennedy said, no, Clint does the real thing. I'm the real thing. Everything I do is the real thing. Now, I have been receiving feedback, some of it in the form of questions, some of it in the form of statements. And the only reason I'm making this video is because I've gotten so much feedback, so much stuff coming at me from people who think they know, or at least they care enough to reach out to me and say, hey Clint, don't you know Dan Kennedy is dead? On your Living Legends website, it still says Dan Kennedy's going to be a speaker. You look like a fool because you have Dan Kennedy listed on your website and he's dead. Well, I've resisted the temptation to say anything about Dan Kennedy until now because I didn't want to be exploiting Dan Kennedy's situation. Many people are claiming that he's dead. I didn't want to be exploiting the Dan Kennedy death the way so many people, in my opinion, have jumped on the Dan Kennedy is dead bandwagon for their own self-interest, or many of them just because they care. Be that as it may, whatever the case may be, those that say that Dan Kennedy is dead, they are wrong. Now, you know, my Living Legends of Entrepreneurial Marketing event was inspired by another legendary entrepreneur, Arnold Kopelson, who died in October. And Arnold Kopelson would say, you happen to be wrong. You don't even know who Arnold Kopelson is. He sold 3 billion tickets to movies starring Harrison Ford, like The Fugitive. And he produced Platoon and The Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves, and Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was the king of all of Hollywood. You don't even know who he is because he was a celebrity entrepreneur. This is what I preach. I preach celebrity entrepreneurship. You want to be somebody in the eyes of customers and prospects. What you want to be is a celebrity entrepreneur. That's what Arnold Kopelson was. Okay? That's what Dan Kennedy was, a celebrity entrepreneur. Most people, you say, do you know Dan Kennedy? They say, who? I know, because I ask at every conference I go to. Whenever I'm speaking, I always say, any Dan Kennedy fans in the room? I usually get like 2, if that. Those people who loved him a lot. And a lot of those people have been posting, oh, I'm so sad Dan Kennedy's dead. He ain't dead. How do I know he's not dead? I know he's not dead. 2 reasons I know he's not dead. Number 1, the first reason I know he's not dead is because I personally received a personal fax from Dan Kennedy before he went in the hospice. Not much before, but before. And in the fax, he said, Clint, on a scale of 1 to 10, the pain is a 10 plus. And should I die, I am going to have Vicky issue you a large check as a cancellation fee for my failure to appear at the Living Legends. Now, the number was specified. I'm not going to reveal the number, but let me just say, he didn't have to do that. It's not in our contract for him to pay me a cancellation fee. He did that because the man is a gentleman. I loved him. Honestly, Allie and I loved him like a father. He was like a father figure to us, even though he wasn't much older than us. You know, my birthday is August 28th, and I'm going to be turning 54. He was 67, 68, that's it. And Allie and I loved him like a dad. We really did. My dad who raised me, his name was Dan. I learned so much from Dan Kennedy. And one of the things I learned about him was how to be an upright, stand-up guy who honors his commitments above and beyond. And that's what I try to do. So, second reason why I know he's not dead. Because when I'll tell you, when I get a FedEx envelope from Vicky with a label on it that says Kennedy Inner Circle, and inside there is a big check, that's when I'm going to know he's actually dead. See? Second reason why I know he's not dead. Lee Miltier. I don't know many people who are closer to Dan than Lee Miltier. Lee Miltier just posted like at 1 o'clock in the morning last night that Dan Kennedy is not dead. He's still in hospice, and that all of the tributes have been printed out and read to him, and that it was helpful, and that in his typical fashion he said, you know, people should send flowers to people when they're alive, not when they're dead. You should have said all those nice things about him while he was still alive. See, Ali and I, this whole Living Legends of Entrepreneurial Marketing conference, right? This conference was inspired by Dan Kennedy. Am I taking Dan Kennedy off the list of speakers just because he's trying to die? Hell no. Okay, Dan Kennedy inspired this whole freaking conference. And until he's in the ground, he is on the page. And I'm putting this video up so that those who don't know will know what the situation is as far as I know it. Okay? But as far as I know, and until I get the check confirming it, he is not dead. He is in hospice. And he's trying to die, but you know what they say? You want to make the Lord laugh, make plans. And right now, Dan Kennedy's plan is to die. And I'm sure the Lord is having a big old chuckle about how Dan Kennedy likes to control everything and do everything his way. And it ain't his way, it's the Lord's way. There you go. Now, in the event, in the unfortunate, sad, and seemingly imminent event that he does pass on from this earth and go on to being no longer a living legend, but just a legend of entrepreneurial marketing, I will be providing Dan Kennedy themed and inspired content that will satisfy any Dan Kennedy fan who has enrolled for the Living Legends of Entrepreneurial Marketing Conference with the expectation that they're going to see Dan Kennedy. I'm his info marketer of the year. There ain't nobody who knows Dan Kennedy better than me. I was talking to Vicky about a mailing I was supposed to do to his list. And I said, well, what do you think about this? And she said, Clint, you know better than anybody what to do. You were stuck to that guy like Velcro, following him around this country, watching him speak. I've been to every little hamlet and burg to see Dan Kennedy speak. And if anybody could provide Dan Kennedy-inspired content, it is moi. That would be the French portion of this video. In the event that that happens, I will provide content that will satisfy even the most ardent Dan Kennedy fans. And until then, I'm expecting him to come out of his hospice and say, you know what? Trying to die was just too much work and not enough pay. And it ain't worth it. If I'm going to work that hard, I need to be getting a check. And when he does that, I will be happy to send the jet to pick him up and fly to New York City so that he can get his freaking Lifetime Achievement Award and perform his last lecture at Carnegie Hall the way he is supposed to. Until then, I am providing you with a video attached to this video of my final interview with Dan Kennedy. This was an interview conducted with Dan in June, just a couple months ago, just a few weeks ago. As far as I know, this is the very last public interview that Dan Kennedy ever did. I got him to do it because of my radio show, the greatest show of all time on WABC Radio in New York City. And I said, Dan, thanks for coming on the show. And he said, well, it's big time radio. That's the only way I got him. I had a radio show in New York City. God bless his heart. He was what do they call that thing? It's like an anachronism. Yeah, he's an anachronism. So am I, to some extent. I am an anachronism, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. Hey, I still got a couple of hours left on my flash sale. If you haven't got a general admission ticket, you want a general admission ticket, you should grab it on the flash sale. And there you have it. All right? Thanks for watching. Dan Kennedy, get better. I'm counting on you. You know what's funny? I sent him a fax before I found out from Vicky that he was going into hospice. I got a piece of mail from him while he was still in the hospital. And it was a piece of mail from Lee, not Keith Lee, but the other Lee who does 3D mail. And in this newsletter from Lee was a one sheet from Dan Kennedy, magnetic marketing, and it was a whole article about not quitting. And I wrote on there, Dan, I just got that it's in the mail from you today, and a lot of people are counting on you not to quit. Don't quit, people. You still got a chance until you're gone. Until you're gone, don't quit. I'll see you at Carnegie Hall.